here. Today's video is gonna be a little different. It's a work with me video. I am working on my next script. I am a screenwriter, and as you can tell, I have an iPad behind me shooting this way because I have what do we call these? It's like a writing board. Basically, it breaks down the story. But basically, I've already done my writing for today, but sometimes I get some bursts of inspiration, and I'm going to be doing that tonight. I really want to knock out this script, and so I'm going to be making some note cards, and working and eating some In and Out. So yeah, if this isn't that relaxing, check out one of my other videos, but also I just thought I'd share kind of the process of writing and creating and working together. So if you have anything you want to do right now, like anything productive, feel free to throw this on in the background and we could work together. Or if you kind of want to relax and, see my process, feel free. This is a safe place. I'm going to do my, if no one's told you, I usually do this at the end of every video, but I'm going to do it in the beginning because I'm probably going to be working until battery dies. If no one's told you today, you are incredible. You are so loved, and I am so grateful that you're here. Be so easy on yourself and allow yourself to be creative. Even if you think you suck, we all suck. I suck at writing, but I still love to do it, and I do it anyways. So this is your sign to do what you love and be creative and just go for it. So you are so loved, and I am so grateful you're here, and let's get into it. Okay. I think I'm going to be doing soft-spoken for the rest of this. So I have In and Out. If you guys are new to this channel, I'm trying to bulk up, so I basically it's like 8 p.m. I spent so much of the day not eating today. I went on a coffee date, and I went on a beach date, and I just didn't eat, and I need to eat, so I went to In and Out. I mean, come on, look at that. Doesn't that look so good? It smells so good. Y'all, if you ever come to LA or California, you definitely have to do In and Out. Not only is it good, not only is it a family chain, but it also, y'all, it's fucking cheap. It's cheaper than McDonald's. Well, maybe not McDonald's, but maybe it's not. Never mind. I just get a lot from Jack in the Box and stuff. It's usually 20 bucks. This is 12 for this. And this, which is cheese fries. I freaking love dairy. I love dairy. So yeah, I'm gonna be eating and working. This is special sauce. It's so good, y'all. You can always ask for it at the counter and they'll give it to you for free. That's the trick. You don't ask for it when you're ordering, because then they'll make you pay for it. You ask at the counter when you're paying. So I put this on my cheese fries. Also, sorry that's loud. I live on a busy street. Okay, so that's good. Can you guys? Ooh, that sounds so good. Have you guys ever eaten cheese fries without a utensil? Because I haven't. I always use forks. And then guess what drink I got? 3, 2, 1. Correct. I got a Sprite. How'd you know? Okay, so we're just gonna get into it. My writing process today. Hello, iPad. As you can tell, I have this whole board in front of me, and I kind of have been going through it. The way the board is set up is you have at the top, you have Act 1, then you have Act 2, then you have Act 2 again in Act 3. one day I can do a whole video about film structuring. It's very cool, but basically I read this really cool book called Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. I think it's Snyder, yeah. And he tells you how to break this down. But basically, these are all the acts in a film, and you need to hit a certain amount of scenes and a certain amount of beats in them. And each note card basically represents a scene in the film. And this is awesome because I'm a very visual person, so I can kind of easily move around scenes and stuff. So, yeah, freaking hungry. So good. Wow, that's hitting the spot. Okay. So, so we start off with young Michael and young. So this is a road trip film. I think one day I'll actually describe what the film's gonna be about, but this is me I'm just gonna work on it, okay? Let me get my straw. Oh, do I not have a straw? Oops. That tastes like water. Ugh. Oh well. Okay. So, I have my note cards right here. And I use a Sharpie. So, okay. We have young M, friends become. Okay. So I love this idea. I've been thinking about it. The really great thing about screenwriting, I would highly recommend it, or writing a book. Even if you love writing, like reading things, the joy of writing, which no one ever talks about. It's not about starting or having a great idea or ending or like it being shown and being successful. The best part about writing is that when you're working on a screenplay or working on a book, I saw a quote of this recently, so true. You basically live the story for however long you're making the story. So, for instance, the screenplay, I've been working on it, I think recently for the last month again. I got back into it. I wrote this like a year ago, like kind of like 30 pages, just kind of an idea of it. And now I'm trying to make it into a screenplay, which is like around 90 pages. But since I've been working on it, every day I view life through the lens of this film. So I'm always looking at like what's going around me in daily life, and I'm seeing like what could we take for this film. And it's the most fun thing, y'all. Highly suggested. I think that's why art is so important, because it helps restructure how you view your life, and it's fun having meaning for looking at things, right? So for instance, I think what was I doing? I think I literally just wrote it down. Let me see. I wrote it down. I wrote it down in my I texted myself. I wrote, "You need to let them go of them. I don't want to." Okay. So this film was about chasing your childhood and learning to let people go, learning to remember the truth. Okay. So I like this. And I've been doing sticky notes for kind of like thoughts, for not concrete scenes, but just like ideas. So, opposing force. Opposing force is it's like let it go, or everyone leaves you. It's either let it go or everyone leaves you, or you're going to be alone. So this is the opposing force. Is like whenever you watch a film, it's the force that's being acted on to the character in the world, and usually the protagonist, the hero, is fighting against it. and they're trying to fight against this, and this is like what the whole battle is. So like for this film, it's all about it's basically about these two. I'll maybe do another ramble later, but it's about these two boys, and I'm trying to figure out where in our story we talk about them, but it's about two friends that were friends in high school. This guy, he's gonna be like a queer loner. He basically, let me see if I can read you the long line. I remember it. I say Matt, a queer loner. This is what it is. When Matt, a queer loner, finds out that his best friend from childhood is getting married and that he wasn't invited, he decides to go on a road trip with the only other person he knows that's invited. He's basically like a Republican, Paul, who is also the best man, in order to fulfill a childhood promise. So it's these two old friends that go on a road trip up the West Coast to one of their weddings. It's all about this time and period. I was really inspired by my brother getting married, but this time when you're kind of like letting childhood go and you're embracing adulthood, and there's this weird, I don't know if you relate to this, I know I so do, freaking yeah, it's just weird hybrid where you're like in between life, between being a child and an adult, and like learning how to let go. And there's this really beautiful quote, someone from Riverdale, I think her name, she was like the white girl, very pretty, Lily Reinhardt or something like that, but she was talking about on TikTok how no one ever talks about the heartbreak of friendships, and you know how people, you know, you're taught how to love people, but no one ever tells you that everyone kind of eventually fades out of your life, and it's hard and it hurts, and no one ever talks about how that's normal. Everyone talks about how you make friends and how you fall in love, and heartbreak for love, but they don't talk about friendship heartbreak. And that's what I want this film to be about. It's all about this queer man trying to reconnect with his high school friends, and this undertone of like, I think this guy might have been in love with him, all this stuff, but he really wants to reconnect and do this before this huge monumental event of adulting happens. And through this road trip, we find out that the main character, he's the one that really wants to go, but we find his secret is that he really wasn't invited, like I was saying, to the wedding. But then the other guy, Paul, he's the best man, but he turns out to be the antagonist because he ends up not really wanting to go to the wedding. He's the best man, but he is dreading watching his best friend and get married off because he knows that he's going to lose him for the rest of his life. Which is true or untrue, but that's what he's facing. And they have this main character who's going basically because he believes that people really need to be there for those important moments, even if they haven't been friends for a while. So it's something like that. Still fleshing it out, but I love it. So I think that's why I'm built to do it. I hope that sounds interesting, and if not, hopefully my writing makes it interesting. So, the really cool part thing is this is up the West Coast. I went on a road trip, solo one, by myself, after I got like kind of dumped by my last ex-boyfriend during COVID. And I went up to Portland, Maine by myself. And this is totally a recall for that. So we're going to start in like this desert LA area, and then we're going to end in Portland where it's raining. And just like flowers, it's about nature kind of representing growth in these individuals. It's gonna be very cool. There's this whole last scene where he's like in the rain and he's all alone, and then there's like a crisscross of these two storylines. It's gonna be really great. I'm very excited, but I have to write it first. Stories, but I freaking highly recommend it. If you've never done it, do it. It's so fun. Don't even worry about showing it to anyone. It's so fun to kind of like dive and create a world that you get to live in after writing. Because if you think about it, writing's like reading. You know how when you read, you read a book and you put it down and then you like live through the world when you're in real life. That's what writing is like too. TV, it's not like that. I don't know why. I think it doesn't activate your head, but when you're writing TV, you still feel that feeling, but when you're watching, you don't. I don't know why. Okay, so I said, where did I put that? Oh. Okay, so opposing force is let go, everyone leaves you. Positive force is people will be there when you need them. I don't think that's it. We have letting it go, and then obviously the other one is going to be holding on. Duh. Make it simple, make it simple. Positive force. Hold on. So that's because that's what the main character is doing. He's trying to hold on to his friends. And everyone is telling him not to. And then at the end of the movie, when all is lost, there's literally a section called All Is Lost, and he's like, I have to let go. There's nothing to hold on to anymore, and he does it. And then we have a flip around where the positive force comes back, which means to hold on. So yeah, it'll be good. I just have to figure out the beats. Okay, so like as you can see, this world right here. So this is like called Act 1, which is the world. The main character, I don't know why I wrote it. Yeah, well I do, because it's kind of based off me. Fun facts, most writing is usually based off the author somehow. But the main character's named Nick. I'm gonna switch it, but right now it's Nick. But this is like his world before he goes on this road trip. So this is like everything. And you do this basically to do the opposite of Act 3, so you create this really intense tension and arc. So at the end, he's going to be alone. So at the beginning, we want to show him that he's like with people, but maybe not the right people, right? Like he's with, I said, Nick and Yun En, they make a promise to each other to be at each other's weddings. But like En has a lover and he dissuades him from going to the wedding. But then I said that like maybe we see like Brokeback Mountain, maybe we see Nick's lover. I saw the scene recently. Maybe we see like a lover outside. Maybe he watches his like lover cheat on him. And I feel like Nick is very monogamous. He's very into love is showing up and being there for people. And there's this kind of thing in gay culture, at least in queer culture, where for some reason people think it's really fine to be in open relationships, and it's a polyamory, maybe. It's just a very normal thing, and I almost feel like monogamy is not expected, so I think that's what's going to throw him into this road trip, because he's going to be like, the only person that I really care about that knows me is my old best friend, and that's what he's going to do. I just love it. He's going to go. You need to make the tension between Paul and Nick. They need to be like polar opposites. And Paul needs to be the complete opposite of Nick's lover. Which you can do, because he can be really monogamous, he can be Republican, he can be anti-queer, like he can be religious, he can be like the polar opposite. And that's the fun, because we'll have Nick, who's really like this queer, very liberal person, and then we'll have Paul, who's this Republican. Polar opposites shouldn't be friends, and by the end of the film, they'll be connected again. the thing with these places right here too is this is the midpoint. So everything up here, this is where it's gonna be opposite of the climax. This is gonna be a false positive, so this is gonna be a false negative. Which basically means, this would be a false negative, false positive. Basically means that like this needs to feel like, yeah, like everything, there's no coming back. And then this needs to feel like, woo, we succeeded, even though it's not true. Okay, let's do this. We see Nick. So I saw this thing in the car when I was driving. And this is what happens sometimes. I don't know if you ever do art, but sometimes when you, or even when you're thinking, like when you want to come up with an answer, and sometimes you can't think about it, but then if you do something kind of mindless, like driving or working out, it will come to you. So that's what I mean, like this lives in your story in your head all the time, because you're waiting for those moments. And I was driving back home doing this, and I wrote in my phone, let it go, and then it said also, I don't want to. And that's the climax. I'm realizing. I see this close-up of, there's two storylines. There's one with the childhood, like Nick as a young child, and then Nick as an older one. And at the end, it's cool because we're going to see that they actually aren't connected. I can get into that later. It's going to be really cool. Like, old Nick is actually going to see young Nick, and we're going to realize that that's actually not him. It's supposed to kind of represent that this story, this connection of friends, can exist over multiple people, showing that's kind of like a universal theme. And I love that. But let it go. I kind of see this vision of the flashbacks, and we're pulling away, and he's like, I don't want to let go, and then he lets go. I think that's what it is. I also need to figure out. So these are some things. Some things I have to figure out. So there's Paul. Okay. Two storylines. Young, and then the road trip. The young needs to be the relationship between the person getting married, Michael, and then young Nick. This is like the reason why he's going to see him. So I have them, and I don't have this in the original, but I'm putting this new one. When they first meet, them becoming friends, maybe having a weird romantic relationship, and then there needs to be a fallout. There needs to be a fallout. And this fallout will happen here near the climax. It's going to be when Nick remembers everything, when he's at the wedding, when he is, going to befriend Michael again, and then nature helps waking him up again. He's going to be like starting to rain, and he's going to start remembering all the things he doesn't want to remember. So when that happens, we need to figure out why Nick and Michael broke up. And the thing is, I know there's the story that Nick tells himself, and the truth. The truth is going to be the opposite, and the truth means that's the thing that Nick wishes doesn't happen, which is the truth is that Michael is the one that pushed it away. So, truth is, Michael pushed away, and then the story that Nick tells himself is that he pushed away, because that's the only reason that Nick will feel obligated to go to this wedding, right? If he feels like he's the one that broke this relationship off, he feels like he has the power to amend it. But if he really believes that Michael's the one that broke it off, of course he's not gonna go to the wedding. Like, why would you? So, okay, so if that's the story, okay, Nick pushes Michael away. Okay, so Nick pushes Michael away. I could relate this to my real life. So obviously this stems from my real life a little bit. I lost connection with a lot of my high school friends, and maybe I'll do a coming out story on this channel. I feel like it's been a long time coming. But I had these brothers that I was really close to, they're friends from middle school and high school, and there were 7 of us, and I really thought that we would be, it might have been so, it was so naive looking back, but I really thought we were gonna grow up and be friends forever, and like our kids were gonna be friends, and it was just like that, you know. I don't know if you have friends or had friends that you thought that, and it didn't turn out like that. And what was really difficult for me, me going through this, is I came out senior year of high school, and senior year is a natural time when people are starting to pull away, but I didn't know that. And I came out and I immediately connected and thought that people weren't friends with me because I came out, when in reality it was a long time coming that we weren't going to be friends. We were just different. We grew up different. Like, we grew up the same, but you know, it's like we were acquaintances. But that was really hard for me. I was like, my friends aren't friends with me because I'm gay, or I came out as bi. And so that's why I think this story is really important, right? It's about like what we tell ourselves versus the truth. And it took me a long time to realize the truth is maybe they didn't push me away because of that. Maybe they pushed away because maybe it wasn't my fault. Maybe it was their fault. Maybe they're the ones that were like, we're gonna push away, versus me being like, I was the one that came out, right? So I feel like I could use that story for this Nick. Oh, or you know what it could be. So this is going to be interesting. We're going to see how gay we want to make this. Because in the first draft, it's actually really nice. It's really subtle. You basically realize halfway. So the first draft, you realize. Well, let me write this down first. Before I forget. Okay. So in the first story that I did, in the first story I did, the 30-page one, we start the story off. There's no really act one. There's no act one right here. We start off where they're already in the car and they're driving somewhere. We have no idea where they're driving. And throughout the journey, we realize they're going to a wedding. They used to be friends. It's actually, I really love the way I wrote him. The thing is, though, I think reading it back, there's a lot more that I could do to add some stakes and to add some depth to these characters and emotional attachment. And a lot of the emotional attachment, y'all, happens in Act 1. It's like the first, I want to say 20 minutes of the movie. And if you're anything like me, I find that time so boring. If you're watching a movie, it's usually like the most boring part. It's like knowing who they are. You're acclimating yourself to the world. But the reason that is always in the film is because you need that, so then you know where they start and you know where they end, and you can create a whole dynamic arc. If you just start in the middle of the story, which I did, it's great, but you're learning throughout, you know, what their problems are, which is fine. It's a way to do it, but it doesn't add so much depth to it. It's like depth in the aftermath versus it being in the forward. But I was saying I made it really subtle that Nick was into Michael, but I wrote it now. Maybe the story is like, maybe the story is Michael makes a move on Nick. Nick stops it when that's not the truth. That adds some more depth, right? If Nick feels like he's the one that stopped them from being connected, he's gonna, you know, has more motive to try and reconnect. The question is, where does this go? So Act 2 is usually all fun and games. So I feel like this goes right before, this goes somewhere here. That's when the stakes are risen. Whenever you see me check my watch, I'm always just checking that it's recording, because I've filmed so many where it stops recording like 15 minutes in, and I film for like an hour. I don't mind it, but you're still here. Paul and Nick visit where Paul's friends got engaged. Paul and Nick are stranded on a hill. So something I need to figure out is if I think Paul's driving. It's Paul's car? No, but Nick. I think Nick picks Paul up. Paul and Nick have a heart to heart. Something I need to learn about is storylines. So there's like an A storyline and a B storyline. And I know where they happen. I know B storyline starts at Act 2, and I know that's going to be with Paul, but I don't actually know how it works into the script. I know that the B storyline is what helps when all is lost and, you know, the hero thinks they've fully lost it. The B storyline is what helps pull them through to win. So I know that, but oh, also, if the iPad, hopefully I'll show you. I hope you guys like my phone case. I love it. It says don't overthink it. And this little pink hat, I actually have one. I didn't realize it hanging in my car, like from the mirror. It's a pink cowboy hat, so I was like, oh my god, no wonder I freaking love the school with the pink. I have. Okay. Letting go. I love that. Nick, they go on a road trip. Paul and Nick visit. Yeah. I think the fun and games. It's interesting. So I feel like Nick's lover in society is all about letting go. You need to let go. And when Nick goes to Paul, I feel like the fun moments of the script is when adults are reliving their childhood, right? So it's like them doing, or on the script, this was nasty, but I actually read it and I was like, this is kind of smart. Like them like farting in a car and laughing, or them being on the side of the road and peeing. Really just being boys. So I'm gonna add some more scenes. And it's gonna be a montage. Montages I usually try and not do. Just because I already read the book, we'll see. I like montages though. So Paul and Nick. And the really cool thing about this film, which I love, is that, and this is like real life too, I don't know if you feel this, but you know how like sometimes like certain things in life will trigger you a little bit, like give you memory callbacks and flashbacks. I love this because in this moment we'll be in the car and Nick, I have to figure out these anti-forces because Nick doesn't, well, whatever, but Nick's gonna feel wind and have these flashbacks, and I love that we're gonna like see him as a kid growing up in this moment of him being an adult, being a kid once again, and then, you know, reality hits that he's older now, and when he gets to the wedding, and that, you know, he has responsibilities and that he's no longer that kid. And when you know that, like, what do you do? Right? And I think that's pretty relatable, don't you? Like, I wish I saw something like this when I was a kid. I wish I saw something depicting loss of friendship and trying to chase it again, and why that's not healthy. Right? Because I know we're taught that it's not healthy, but it'll be great to actually see why it's not healthy, you know? And I think a lot of us hold on to relationships longer than we think we should. Even if we know better, because it's comfortable and we are thinking that there needs to be a certain break, when in reality, sometimes even they're just thinking enough of it, that's enough of a sign that you should break it off. So this is where I'm getting lost a little bit over here. I'm getting lost over here because I have the climax, and then in the short story, I actually really don't have any of Act 3, which is just like rebuilding the world. So I have to rebuild that out. I don't know. Paul and Nick are stranded on a hill. I love that. They have this huge fight. The truth comes out. Paul is like, you were never like friends with Michael, like you shouldn't even be invited to the wedding. And Nick is telling Paul, societal pressure is like, you need to grow up. Is that what this is? It's a growing up versus, it is growing up versus childhood, but see, so I was rereading the script, and some of these moments I was like, that's smart, but it doesn't make sense coherently in a whole. Like I wrote, there's this really beautiful scene in the forest where they talk about, and it was kind of like the crux of this whole film. Nick is talking about how you need to be, or Paul was saying like he doesn't want to go to the wedding because he's like, no one ever talks about how once your friends get married, they're not only just choosing someone, but they're choosing who also to let go of, and they're letting go of their friends. And he's basically like, why can't we go back to Friday nights where we're drinking and going out, and like, why is he leaving me in this really emotional moment? Then Nick responds being like, well, at least you're the best man, that's awesome. And he goes, I guess. And then Nick goes, I think he's like, weddings remind me of funerals. And then Paul laughs, and Nick goes, and Paul's like, yeah, because they both suck. And Nick goes, no, because, and I'm like, the writing's a little bit better, but Nick goes, no, because I believe that just like a funeral, you always hope that the people that you love are going to be there, and it's the only time in your lives where you really look around and you see who loves you, and that's why it's important. And then Paul's like, so that's why you want to go? And Paul's like, he wasn't even that good to you. Nick doesn't believe that, but Nick looks back in the flashbacks. These flashbacks happen, and Paul's like, why do you care so much? And we see that's when we see that Michael and Nick were maybe more than friends, and maybe Michael was Nick's sexual awakening. That's good. Let's do that. I think that is true, but I think the stronger choice would be first love. I think if it's reciprocal, because if you look at the beginning, all Nick is chasing is love, connection. And he thinks we start off where we think he has it, but it's clear that he's either being cheated on or it's not going well. And then he's like, screw it, I'm gonna go to the person that first loved me, my friend Michael. And I think we're gonna have a dream sequence. I wrote it up here, but where Nick and young Nick and young Michael, they make a promise to each other that no matter what happens, they're gonna be at each other's weddings. There's like a promise, and then older Nick wakes up, and then he like sees that his friend's getting married, and he wasn't invited. This is all through social media, and so he's like, you know what, I'll just go with Paul. Paul is like, hey, you wanna come? The thing is, we need to think about like how does Nick actually like rationalize that he's gonna be able to get in? I don't know if Paul's gonna be like, I don't know. I also don't know how much of a big deal it is that should be a secret. Like, it's just a secret that he's not invited. I put it at the climax where it's like revealed, but that Paul already knew that by then. But I don't know if that enhances the story or not. I need to read more about structure. So it's nice, like I'm having all these beats, right? But you're supposed to think I have 10 scenes. It's okay because I'm cutting a lot, so I'm gonna have to rewrite a lot, but we're getting there. I also have to go over the symbols and metaphors and motifs, I mean, because obviously I'm using nature, right? To signal, you know, incompleteness, and completeness. But I have to look deeper into that. I need to be more specific. Yeah. Cool. I actually feel like this is a good place to end. It was nice, actually. I rambled a lot more than I thought I would. It's been nice, like, rambling to you guys about the story because it's putting everything in my head. But yeah, thanks for being here. I hope that you are resting well. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments too, so I'll make more of these. This is boring. Don't leave any comments. Maybe still press a like, but yeah, this is what I do. I love doing this, y'all. This is like a big passion of mine. I'm always working on a story. So yeah. I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for being here. And thanks for being my buddy while I eat and I write and work on stuff. I'm so grateful you're here, and I hope that you